I'd like to welcome everybody to the Norwood School Board meeting. It's August 16th, 2018. Norwood City School District Board of Education follows a semi-monthly meeting schedule. The first meeting of the month is called the committee meeting. At this meeting, we discuss fully our agenda for the board meeting to be held the third Thursday of each month. The board members, we encourage you to attend, watch, and listen to the committee meetings resulting in the actions at the board meeting. For full disclosures, our committee meetings and board meetings are always announced, video and audio taped, as well as posted on the web page for your viewing. All of our meetings are public and visitors are welcome. Julie, if you could call the roll.
Mr. Bryant.
Here.
Mr. Faulkner.
Here.
Mr. Atwood.
Here.
Mrs. Ballard is absent. Mrs. Orza.
Here.
Okay. If we could stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item would be the adoption of the agenda. Can you get a motion?
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda.
All right, we got first by Mr. Atwood,
I'll second.
second by Val. Any discussions? Okay.
Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Orza.
Yes.
Okay. Next item would be the adoption of the minutes for July 31st regular Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
First by Mr. Faulkner,
I'll second.
second by Brandon. Any discussion? Okay.
Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Orza.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see, the next item would be the approval for the minutes of August 7th, special Board of Education meeting. If I could get a motion.
So moved.
All right. First by Scott.
I'll second.
Second by Brandon. Any discussion? Okay.
Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Orza.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Next would be Education Committee report. Amber's not here. We really don't have anything else. Let's see. Next item would be personnel. Superintendent Dr. Sabo.
I'm sorry, I think we have a committee meeting from August 7th, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we do.
It's kind of off on the agenda. There's no
okay.
separation there to let you know.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Yeah, let me back up. Item 1.07 would be the approval for the minutes of August 7th committee meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Motion by Brandon,
Second.
second by Val.
Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Orza.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next would be the personnel superintendent, Dr. Sabo.
Thank you, Mr. President and the board. For consideration this evening, under 3.01, we have a number of resignations.
Okay, can we get a motion?
I'll motion.
Okay, motion by Val,
Second.
second by Scott. Any discussions? No. Okay.
Mr. Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Orza.
Yes.
Mr. President and the board, we have a number of items for employment under number 3.02, but number 1, supplemental contracts, teacher contracts, food service contracts, avenues for success after-school programming for this school year, kindergarten camp, a physical therapist, a correction to the July 31st agenda, Number 8, another correction to the June 12th agenda. And number 9, a correction to the May 12th agenda. These are individuals who have recently presented their transcripts regarding college course credits, and so that moves them on the pay scale.
Okay. All right. Can we get a motion?
Motion?
Okay, motion by Val. Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brandon. Any discussions? Okay.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Orsa?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see, next would be policy committee report. Brandon?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing new as far as revised policies to report for this meeting. However, we will be meeting the week of the 22nd to go over a full policy manual review. So much more to come in the future.
Okay. All right. Let's see, next would be buildings and grounds. With the board's approval, I do have a couple items on here. Let's see, item 1 would be Norwood Kids Monthly Parent Power Group. And the other one's going to be the New City Presbyterian Church Men's Group on a Wednesday. I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Separately, just because they're
I'll second.
separate voting. You can lump all these together.
Any discussions? No? Okay.
Who's first?
Sorry, I was distracted.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Orsa?
Yes.
Okay, let's see, next would be Finance Committee report. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President. The reason I was distracting her is each one of these are listed individually, and I wanted to see if we could group together or separate. And she said since they're listed separate, let's do them separate. So by recommendation of committee, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of item 6.01, financial reports, our monthly financial reports.
Okay, we got a motion, can we get a second?
Second?
Second by Val.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Orsa?
Yes.
I'd also like to make a motion for item 6.02, the approval of the temporary appropriations for fiscal year 2019.
Okay. We have a motion, can we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Orsa?
Yes.
6.03, the approval of the Monarch construction change orders. Make a motion for that.
Okay, we have a motion, can we have a second?
Second?
This is just the asbestos that was found that was not covered under the last.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Orsa?
Yes.
Make a motion for item 6.04, federal funds for fiscal year 2019.
Okay.
I'll second.
And this is just the federal money that's come in and where it's going to for this year.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Orsa?
Yes.
And finally, 6.05, the HCESC annual order service contract. I make a motion for approval of that.
Okay, we have a motion, can we have a second?
I will second.
Okay.
And this is just our annual for special needs. Or for service contracts, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Orsa?
Yes.
And Mr. President, that concludes finance.
All right, thank you. Next is hearing of the public. We do not have anybody here to the public. Let's see, next would be, let's see, Superintendent's report. Dr. Sabo?
Thank you, Mr. President and the board. We have wonderful news to share. Kindergarten Readiness Camp began this week, and this effort is intended to screen students as well as familiarize them with the building where they will attend kindergarten. Each kindergarten family did receive a personal phone call from me this week to to certainly express our enthusiasm for beginning kindergarten in Norwood City Schools. So to the class of 2031, we wish them an amazing kindergarten school year. The second and third floor of the West Wing have been inspected and permission has been granted for occupancy for students and teachers as of yesterday. Our maintenance team, as well as Scarlet and Gray, are working rigorously to move items that have been in storage and, of course, clean the space. It's possible we'll gain occupancy for the first floor and the basement floor within the next few weeks, perhaps even days. Work has begun in the field house, and we appreciate the patience of the Norwood Middle School faculty and students while we experience these temporary inconveniences with long-term improvements in sight. The Safe Routes to School Committee, composed of Norwood City Schools and the City of Norwood members, wrote for a grant to improve our routes to school. And the grant will cover speed humps, signage, and lighting in specified areas in Norwood. The total grant is not to exceed $644,827.46. Our city will encumber the funds and will use them only for this project. The planning stage included input from Children's Hospital. So the city and the Ohio Department of Transportation, along with the construction company, Adelta, are working to ensure the success of this grant implementation. And we expect work to begin August the 26th and be completed near the end of October. So special thanks to Deborah Robinson and Donna Lake for spearheading that effort. The first day of school for teachers is tomorrow, and we will meet in the high school gymnasium. The Treasurer's Department has planned the annual vendor fair to kick off the event. The all-district meeting will begin at 8:30. We have two former Norwood teachers who will be our special guest speakers, Mrs. Sue Rogers and Mrs. Vicki Query Slowick, along with the Teacher of the Year, Mr. Marshall Dykes, and of course the Norwood High School Marching Band. Our community loves our school calendars, and those have arrived, and they will be out for families tomorrow. The first day of school for students begins on Tuesday, August the 21st. The first day of school for kindergarten, full day of kindergarten, begins on Friday, August the 24th. We're looking forward to an amazing school year. This concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sabo.
Thank you.
Let's see, Great Oaks report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Great Oaks meeting was held last week. They announced the adult workforce development enrollment for the fourth quarter of the 2017-2018 school year. They had 3,783 adults enrolled in their programs. Additionally, they had 1,907 adults youth services available through Great Oaks, and 6,704 attended meetings, programs, and other activities while on campus for that year. They did publish their 2018-2019 high school course guide. This is the second year they've done that. It's a list of not only what the description of the course, but the prerequisites for the course to help the parents and everyone get ready for that. And we start on the 21st. They started this week. So they're on the buses, they're headed out, and the education's already started for our Oaks students. So that concludes our report.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Let's see, Avenues for Success. Amber's not here. We'll kind of let her go over all the different stuff, and then they had some stuff going on with some backpacks and stuff like that. So she'll give that, let everybody know all about that next month. Legislation.
There is no legislative report at this time.
Okay, all right. Board announcements. I did miss that one. It was way on the bottom there. Anybody have any board announcements? Nope.
We have a scrimmage, high school football scrimmage
We
tomorrow.
do
Shane?
tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And Buffalo Wild Wings and Rings next Thursday night.
Okay. Let's see, next would be meeting notifications. Let's see, next meeting will be the committee meeting Tuesday, September 11th, 2018. And then the regular Board of Education meeting will be Thursday, September 20th, here at the high school, back at the high school, starting in September. If I could get a motion, or I'd like to make a motion for approval on the dates listed.
So moved.
Okay.
Right the first time. Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Warza?
Yes.
Let's see, next will be adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
First by Scott.
Second.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner?
Yes.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Orza?
Yes.
It is 6:15. We're done.